They're running. We'll drive.
You don't want me behind the wheel of the bus, that's for sure.
I already know who our next driver training is gonna be.
Please stand for the pledge.
One nation.
Okay. Repeat after me. I state your name.
I, Madeline Ray,
Do solemnly swear that I will support the Constitution of the United States
do solemnly swear that I will support the Constitution of the United States
and the Constitution of the State of New York,
and the Constitution of the State of New York,
and that I will faithfully discharge
and that I will faithfully discharge
the office of school board
the duties of the office of school board
according to the best of my ability. All right, yes. Thank you. All right, Nadine. Hi, Nadine.
Hi. So first I'd like to say thank you for supporting the Shakespeare program. The kids had a lot of fun this past weekend. And I know they're looking forward to going to Massachusetts tomorrow and then on Sunday as well to perform that. So something else I want to talk about is currently in the health committee for the Assembly of New York State is Bill 8378 to include the COVID-19 vaccine as a requirement to attend school. I'm here speaking tonight to ask the board to stand up for all of the students in the district. After talking to just some people today, there's already about 60 students that I know of that will not be coming back to school if the vaccine is required. So whether they're going to be homeschooling or even some are moving out of state if that becomes a requirement. And I do expect the number to rise. Not here to debate the vaccine in and of itself. I have done my research. There's evidence on both sides. All depends on what you're listening to is what you get your conclusions for. There are 4 different countries that have actually stopped giving the vaccine to people under the age of 35 because of the side effects to that. So Toconica Hill's mission statement is to be the center of learning for students and community alike by using 21st century tools and providing opportunities to motivate, engage, and encourage individuals to rise to their full potential and contributing members of society. So I'm asking you to reach out to the members of legislature to stand up for all of the students, especially the ones that are not going to want to be vaccinated so that they can continue with their schooling. Thank you.
Thanks, Nadine. Sheena. Hi, Sheena.
Hi, guys. So I have 2 pieces of good news to share tonight. The THFA organized and hosted our trunk or treat event on October 29th. It was a huge success. We were able to raise over $3,000 for our scholarship fund, and we're able to provide a safe trick or treat experience for over 200 students in our district. Feedback from the community has been wonderful, and we look forward to planning the event next year. I think in lieu of powwow is what our plan is. Also, Holly Van Tassel, one of our PE teachers, will be incorporating a new sledding and outdoor play unit into her PE classes and is currently collecting outdoor winter apparel and outdoor equipment for students aged 11 through 18. So that's just kind of something that's nice that's going on, and something to look forward to. It seems like it might be a bad one. That's what they keep coming. I would also like to speak to you about teacher burnout. Due to a substitute shortage, teachers within the district are being used to cover classes internally on a daily basis. Many feel as if they are sinking by sometimes covering up to 2 additional classes per day. Teachers are being pulled from other duties such as full duty and other locations where supervision is in turn lacking, and it is not uncommon for teachers' preparation periods to be changed on the spur of the moment so they can cover a class. This makes our daily schedule very challenging because we count on regular scheduled time to meet with colleagues and students. So it just makes planning for things a little bit hard because sometimes we don't know that until the day. In previous Board of Ed meetings, it was stated that the district has saved thousands of dollars as a result of not having to pay substitute teachers. what is happening to these saved funds is what some of the members are asking. And it is common practice at other districts to compensate teachers for providing class coverage as a paid substitute would do. And this is something that the board would consider. Just something to think about. And that's it. Thank you for your time.
Okay, we need a motion for the acceptance of the agenda. Can I have a motion, please? Ron, second. Terry? Before we accept this, there's a couple of changes. So on the school district budget calendar, you guys all have a copy in front of you. There's a change on April 6th. It says Wednesday at 5:30. We're going to change that to 6:30. Okay. And then on April 13th, the reason why we're doing that, we usually do that at after the board meeting, but we have to do it this year because of Quest Star's budget vote. So those are the two changes on the budget calendar, and there's also another change on H. The authorization disposal, instead of 96 monitors, there's 114 monitors. So those are the changes on the agenda.
It's Tuesday, April 13th
Is our budget workshop. And it's gonna be quick. It's really where we're gonna decide what levy we're going to, what levy.
Let Ron know that. Quickly.
So those are the two changes. Okay. So all in favor? I know. Sorry. All right, so now I need a motion for the acceptance of the consensus agenda. Bill, second. Ron. Move that over. Make the changes there to monitors. We have. Oh, that's not great. Let's see. The new art teacher, Mary Watkins, is she here?
She was the old ENL teacher.
Oh, I see, yeah, all right. You read-
And I'll,
oh, all right, nice.
So we're gonna be looking for this position.
All right. Any questions on that? On the consensus agenda?
What donations are going to go?
Yeah, that's later, that's not part of the, yeah. Any questions on that?
As you said that there was a change in the disposal equipment.
But that's not on the consensus, it's on the regular agenda.
Oh, okay, but what was that?
So instead of 96 monitors, it's gonna be 122.
I thought it was-
We have 2 new Wi-Fi.
We have a couple more, but they have to reach the goal to need 16.
Any other questions on the consensus agenda? All in favor? Thank you. So the report, so Superintendent Dr. Millhouse.
Okay, the visitation committee met at 5:30. We walked around the building. We looked at some masonry issues on the outside of the building. We looked at some issues with some of the floors, some of the doors and the windows. And those are things probably that are going to be identified by our architect firm as in need of some sort of remediation in the near future. Remember, New York State mandates that you have that review every 5 years. We did look at some new furniture in the elementary. We went into the elementary library, viewed their, what used to be called Story Mountain, is being redone and made over into a makerspace type of area. And then we went to the fourth grade classrooms of Hunter and Rao, Jaws and Schrader, and looked at some of the new furniture there. Then we went to the back of the building, and of course, some of us remember the barrels that used to be back there, what rough shape those tiles were in, the floor tiles and the ceiling tiles, so that's all been replaced and fixed, it was very nice. And I know a bunch of the board members had not been around the building, so we just took them to walk around and check things out. We did hold at the request of the Department of Health, the DOH for Columbia County, a 5 to 11-year-old vaccine clinic on Monday, where 81 students received the first vaccine. They are coming back December 6th to complete that. Right now, we have 270 vaccinated employees out of 315 for 85.7%. That leaves us with 45 that we're going to start to test, we hope, on November 29th. I took a look at the number of kids in the secondary, and out of 565 students, we have 226 that are fully vaccinated for 40%. It is slightly lower than the rest of the county, and we're monitoring that. We do have our PCR machines functional. Those were formally set up and tested today so that we can PCR test students and staff who are symptomatic. That's the catch, symptomatic. Okay, it's not a surveillance, it's a point of care testing. So Dr. Cope at the hospital signed off on that, and Questar helped with that grant along with the Department of Health. It's paying for most of that. Okay, that's it.
I'm sorry, you started out with the number of staff who were vaccinated, and I think I didn't hear what you said.
Well, we have approximately 315 total, and 270 are vaccinated.
Oh.
And the percentage then is 85.7%.
Great, thank you.
Okay, we have the building department reports. We have Eric Nico, but it's going to be starting tonight for the elementary school.
Hi, everyone. So Mary and I have been working with our school district information officer, or special status, to update our elementary school website. We have included a new link on our website called PATS Highlights, on which we're going to display different things that are happening within the elementary school. And we're going to try to do it on a monthly type of a basis. But we want to thank Mr. Perry for helping us change it and make it better so everybody can see what's happening in our school. Also, right now it's observation season, so Mary and I have been busy going into classrooms. As you guys know, we do have many new teachers this year, and so therefore we have to have the first observation done before the end of December. So we just want to say we've been seeing lots of great things happening with our students and our staff, and we're just really happy with what everything is going on.
Well, thank you. Next up is James Burmaster for the high school. Hey, Jim.
Hey, fine. Looking at our stats from the first quarter, we're only 3 days into the second quarter right now, but we're trying to analyze what we did in the first quarter, and we're seeing some good things, some things that we need to improve on, and some areas where we're kind of flat a little bit. So just to give you an idea of some of those, attendance is still a problem. It's something that we're continually working on. We've got new staff members that have been working on this. We have new partnerships with social services. We have a lot of different ways to try and attack this, and new programs coming in almost every day, it seems like right now, to find different ways. But it's still a struggle for some students to get here every day. Some students were struggling getting here at all, and trying to get supports from the local social services and other programs that might get them in there. But that will be a constant struggle for not just us, but for other schools, with what we had to deal with kids being able to learn remotely in the last year and a half. So we'll keep working on that. Looking at our discipline, it wouldn't be fair to compare it to last year because it was a totally different year. But if you look back to where we were 2 years ago, before we went out on COVID, we're kind of running almost flat with the number of referrals that happened in 2019-20 up to this time, and 2020-21. One area where we've seen a great increase is on the plus side, that we have so many more positive referrals. We had a week-long kind of a contest to get more teachers to do this, and it's carried over, and we're seeing more. And kids seem to still be excited about getting those positive calls home. So some are done by referrals, teachers are still making calls in different ways. An area where I feel we're doing well is similar to what Darby has mentioned, getting into the classrooms. We're seeing teachers becoming more comfortable with the block schedule. We're seeing students get more comfortable with being back and seeing some good things happening in our classroom. And it's showing in some of the results for class passing rates. If you look at the grades, and almost all of our grades have been inputted so that we can get the report cards out on Friday, we have a 90% passing rate for all of our classes right now, which if you look at that the last 2 years, as we've been dealing with COVID, it was far worse than that. We were down in the mid-80s, with struggling to get kids to pass classes. Really what we're here to do ultimately is to get kids to pass classes and get prepared for the next step in their lives, whatever it might be. So when I look at that number, that's the best number that I see. It's the most promising, and it cuts to the heart of what we all really want to do with get our kids educated. Thanks.
Sure, with a 90% passing rate, recognize that. Or the 10% the students that were having attendance difficulties.
A good portion of those are, Dave, because what I've included in some of those are some students that we haven't been able to get in for a single day this year. You know, through anxiety, through mental health issues, through other different things that we have them on our books and they're not here. If you took them off of that, our rate would be above 90, would be even better. But there are still students that are here that are struggling. So we just have to keep adapting. Our at-risk meetings start as soon as we get back from the Thanksgiving break, where we start meeting with students who have failed multiple classes. Find plans for each of them to find success.
Thank you.
And we have, next up, Sandra Gardner, instructional staff development. Yes, Sandra.
Hi. In Thanksgiving season, I would just like to give a bunch of thanks. We had our staff development day November 1st, and it went really well. So a special thank you to the PD committee that put so much work into helping me organize that and make that happen. That's really, when you think about it, we run 4 major conferences a year. And you think about what event planners get paid to do to run that size of a conference for over 300 people, and we do it on top of our daily jobs 4 times a year. So, really kudos to that committee. There was a core group that decided to start the day off to a smooth start, and they ran a smoothie bar. And I'd like to give a shout out to Ryan Troper, Kristen Phillips, Stella, Bobby Joe, and Rick. Kevin Reese, Lisa Reese, and Matt Perry. They were all part of that, and I think that was really well received. The feedback from the surveys was really positive. So thank you to everybody that made that day happen and happen so well. Another thank you came by me through an email. We had a visitor, an intern for library, come and visit, and she sent us an email afterwards and just wanted to acknowledge how supportive people were. She went to the library and worked with Amy Janio and Tanya Fricky, but then she also had to do a class exercise, and she did that with Christina Proper. And all 3 of those professionals just made sure she had and did everything she needed to do. But in general, she also knew that when she went through the building, the high school staff was so friendly. I reached out to her, and that was just a positive. And finally, she ended with, how she would read and how she left the building. And that was the clerical support in the front office. So Paula and Carol and Sue and Lisa. So, getting an email like that is just really special. And I think is really what we want our school climate and culture to be about. So that's my report, to thank a bunch of people that really make a difference. in
That's
the school.
awesome. Thanks,
Thank
Danielle.
you.
Oh, God. Business office, look at that.
So we had our financial condition workshop earlier in the month. And so in follow-up to that, on tonight's agenda is the approval of the updated financial reserve plan that you all were able to review and we did discuss during the workshop. And then we have the additional contribution to the TRS reserve fund. So that's, I think this is our third year funding that reserve. And we can probably fund it one more year until it's at its max value. And finally, we did discuss at the workshop to establish the liability reserve fund. That resolution is on the agenda for tonight. So that is in line with what we discussed. If anybody has any questions about that. Go ahead.
Next up, tax collector report. I don't know.
Hey, I'm gonna stand up here since I'm all jittery. I can sit.
So as most of you know, I started as tax collector August 24th of last season, and the tax bills went out August 31st. So kind of came in there without knowing that's all that I was doing. But this year I was able to be here from the beginning to the end to be able to collect our tax warrant of $25 million. So mid-August, I usually get close to around 9,000 tax bills. They all have to get sealed, stamped. We brought them out to the post office August 31st. And I'm not sure quite what happened at that time. It was awful. The post office delayed. People were not getting their tax bills for weeks. We got so many phone calls. I had to resend out bills, email tax bills. It was pretty awful. We went to the post office, we asked them, and they were like, nope, everything seemed fine. People in Prairieville didn't get their tax bills for 2 weeks. So it's kind of crazy, but you go to the next one, we were still able to collect 93% of the $25 million that were out there, which is actually 1% more than we collected last year. So kind of still worked out. Right here, we have a pie chart, and this breaks down the ways that we collect taxes, which is 3 different ways. Key bank lockbox, which is 65% that we collected, which is down 3% from last year. And then our online sales increased 4%, which brought us to 21%. And then the tax collector, which is me, collected 7%, which is down 1% from last year. I can collect taxes for, actually, Key Bank this year wouldn't allow people inside the bank. They wouldn't physically allow them, so if they had cash, they refused to let them in there. So if they were adamant about it, we let them come here to school. Also, our Key Bank lockbox, we have very strict rules on how they have to apply the money. So if they do have problems, they have to send it to me. I research and I can collect some of that money. And then some people mail me the taxes. It's a little over about $1 million of what I took in. So if you look here, Key Bank, the lockbox, it's a large percentage. It always will be, even if we try our online payments, which is great that you guys waive the service fee for us, or the tax law and the tax, I guess. So it will always be the largest piece of the pie. The majority of our people in the school district actually have a mortgage with an escrow, and those are paid by a bank, which goes to our lockbox service. So, but we do, for the people that are trying to pay themselves, pay to us directly and get that online. It's just a quicker, easier way to get the cash in hand. Next screen, it's just a breakdown of our online payments. We accepted MasterCard and Visa this year. We did not do American Express or Discover because the fees were higher. But I actually had maybe like one complaint that someone said, why didn't we accept American Express? But otherwise, it was fine. And if you actually look at the credit card payments of the amount we received, it increased from last year. The other way people can pay online is through ACH payments, which is a check online. And that actually decreased a little. And one of the things I think maybe is I have a tax insert that goes with the tax bill. And if you look right at the center, it always had the lockbox stuff on there, but I switched it to put the online stuff. So people noticed it this year. They even called and they said, oh, I never knew you could do that, which isn't true, but you know. Next year, I think I'll put the ACH on there. I didn't realize that it wasn't on there, and maybe we can get more people to pay via check online, because one of the things that's very hard in my position, that it's very uncomfortable, is if someone writes a check and the amount written and the numeric amount do not match, I have to send it back to them. Obviously, if it's over, I can refund them the money, but if it's short, I can mail it back to them. And say if that person pays on September 30th, I have to send it back to them, and now they owe the late fee. And I cannot waive the fee, I don't have a mechanism in the law to use that word, to be able to do so, and it makes people very unhappy, let's just say, that if they have to pay a late fee, it's just very, it's just uncomfortable. So if we can get money this way, there's just less of a chance of them having any type of error. And this year, online, I had Matt Terry put a spot right on the homepage, click on there, pay your taxes online. The website where we pay our taxes is not very user friendly. So at least instead of having them to click about 3 times, they just had to click once before they had to click a whole bunch of other times that I could walk them through. So and then on the next screen, this is actually where our service charges, where you as a board had approved the merchant services. We did raise the fee, but it was $60,000 of fees that we had to pay for our credit card services. It was an increase of $10,000, which makes sense because our online payments increased by 4%. So that's where it would be. Since our lockbox went down, the fees for the lockbox obviously decreased just a little bit. If you look at it one way, is to look at the fees that kind of would help. During October 1st to November 1st, if someone pays their taxes, did you pay a rate percent, 2% late fee or penalty as it's called, which we collected $22,000. That is not included in the warrant in the beginning. It's just extra. So if you take that $22,000 and you subtract it from the 60, that would kind of be the wash of really what we had to absorb as a district for saying that we were going to pay the fees. But people really, really do appreciate that, you know, the fee is raised and it helps really get money into my hand, that's for sure. The other thing is, the one thing we did collect $22,000 in late fees, and ironically, we collected the same amount last year. So even though people didn't get their tax bill for weeks and weeks, we were still able to get payments in time, and it just seems maybe around the same amount of people tend to pay late fees. So, and then the next thing, in summary, right now I've turned over about $1.7 million to Columbia County Treasurer's Office of uncollected taxes that I was not able to collect. They are currently collecting for 2 more weeks with the 2% penalty. Starting December 1st, they then add what they call they re-levy it, which is just a 7% charge on top of what is owed currently, and they'll put it on the county tax bill in January. We are reimbursed fully, full 100% in April, because we don't have the ability to go after people put a lien on their house, or because that's how the county can do that for us. So they make us whole. So we always get our full warrant by the end of the school year or the year. And going through this, one of the things I noticed was a lot of people asked this year, can we get, just why don't we get our tax bill emailed? It would be so much easier than mail and all sort of stuff. So I reached out to the company I deal with, which is InfoTax, and I asked them to put a build on the program for next year that we can put someone's email address in there so that when the tax bills go out, that they can get an email tax bill as well. Cannot replace it by law. You have to send a mail. You have to put the tax bill in the mail, but it is not. It's not against the law to be able to email a tax bill as well. So you can go together. It would be great to do an email blast September 1st when all the bills go out and people get it. And especially around here, a big percentage of people are second homeowners. They don't live around here. Since COVID, they have moved up here, but a lot don't live around here, and they would love to get their tax bills emailed to them. So I really thought it was a great season. It flew by. I felt way more confident doing what I was doing this year than I did last year. And I look forward to doing it again next year. Any questions?
Thank you. I just want to comment, you did an excellent, this was an excellent presentation, and I think you educated some people, so thank you.
Oh, thanks. It was pretty bright. It was bright. And the smiley face from my son at the bottom.
I do have a question about the
Sure.
ACH payment.
Yep.
Are there fees that we have
No.
to absorb for that?
No, ACH does not have these, so that's why I'm
That's sort of preferable.
correct. Yeah.
And what's involved in doing that? Because I did not.
It's just another tab on the screen. So when you went to the 3rd tab and it said enter key, enter card, it was called, there's just a little tab right next to it and actually says, it might say e-check. And then you put there and you put your account, checking account.
So you put your bank routing
Yep.
number and your checking account number.
Exactly, yeah, and there's no service charge to us, and then there's no service charge, obviously, to the person that's paying the bills as well.
Right.
Yeah, So I will try to focus on that to see if the people that are paying. But some people like getting the free miles or free, extra things that they were getting without paying the surcharge too. Yeah.
You call to all the other tax collectors around the town?
To one of them, Ichabod Crane, she's been there for a while, her name is Mindy Cox.
I see what their percentages of.
No, I haven't reached out to them. We did a meeting before the season began, just to talk about stuff, but we haven't done a follow-up, but I could always ask, Suzette Bowie and the treasurer, Nancy Baker. They kind of put everything together, because that's who we deal with at the county level, but I could always reach out to them and say, it would be interesting to know.
And do you know how the school districts absorb the search charges?
They do not, and actually some don't even allow online, they don't even have online payments, it's just only by check. It's
Pretty
still-
good.
Yeah, we're
Service
pretty,
to our taxpayers.
yes.
I want to echo that Eileen did a great job. She was completely in control of the process from beginning to end this year. So she instituted a lot of new procedures that made it much more efficient. And she has a balancing process along with the district treasurer, Lucia. Normally, once the season ends, it takes a little while for us to balance the warrant, but she's already completely in balance. It's ready for audit. It's done.
Yeah.
So she really did not say.
Yeah, we just changed it up a bit. What we do is when you pay online, I get the notification you're paid online, but I don't actually take the payment until we actually get the money in bank. And then we just kind of go and we created it like we said, and then when we balanced, we did. It was pretty amazing to balance when we finished it off. That's for sure. It's a lot of money coming in a short amount of time.
Thanks, Eileen.
Yep.
Next up, Stella.
Hi, everyone. So we talk about reconciling taxes. The special education department has to work with the Department of Health to reconcile Medicaid cost settlements. And one way they do that is staff that would typically work with students and would bill Medicaid, such as Mrs. Nancy here with social work, will get a random email between September and November that they have to answer 5 questions. And they would talk about what you're doing at 1 p.m. on November 12th. And staff has 2 days to answer that, or I'll get a report saying there's a non-compliance. So for the past 3 months, all of our staff have been 100% compliant. So I thank you very much, because they don't know when the email is coming, and they are very diligent in making sure they answer it so that we all get 100%. So thank you.
Nice, good job. Thanks, Stella. Next up, Nick.
I had a very exciting day today. Today was fire inspection. We got to walk all 350,000 square feet of the building, and I'm happy to report that everything went well with fire inspection. We checked things like excessive combustibles, making sure that electrical wiring is up to date and things aren't plugged in, like power strips plugged into lead cords. Believe it or not, that's a fire code violation. So there's all sorts of things that we check, and teachers did a great job with housekeeping in their rooms. Everything went great. All the emergency egress routes were clear, so that went great. The other thing I wanted to talk about tonight was the expansion tank project. We put that out to bid. The bids came back around $50,000. We talked about that. The expansion tanks were necessary to make sure that our boiler plant operates properly. So just a reminder, this is a picture. The big tank on the right there is the one that we replaced. And the next picture, we'll see the 3 smaller tanks that we put in its place. Basically, we went with 3 little tanks because we couldn't get a tank that big back in the door. We had to cut that one up to get it out. So that's what we went with. Things seem to be working great, and the project is now complete. Thank you.
Thanks, Nick.
Good evening, everybody. So a little bit later in the agenda, you'll see that we have 5 buses up there for surplus. They're between 12 and 15 years old. Every one of those bus numbers has at one point in time over the last couple of years been on our transportation slide that we use during the budget season. But we did not sell all those buses yet until wanting to do so now. Because of COVID, we weren't sure how the whole, how many kids could we put on the bus and that kind of thing. So just to be safe, we held on to them for a couple of years. So they're up there now. They're a mix of age, miles, and rust. So it's a good time right now to get rid of them. We do have 2 new buses from this year's money ordered. They're being built in Tulsa, Oklahoma. One is already built and sitting in a parking lot with dozens of other buses because it doesn't run. Anybody want to take a guess why it doesn't run? Chips. Matter of fact, the second bus has not been built yet because they had to close the assembly line down because they had no more room in their parking lot to store the buses that would not run. So it's, we're all being affected by those chips that are sitting off the coast, I guess.
Is that gonna leave us at a shortage?
No, we'll be fine for now. But for Christmas, I'd like to see those buses. Thank you.
Would you reflect on that?
Pardon me? I'm good.
Oh, thank you. Next up is John Technology.
Just wanted, good evening, just want to say thank you for the update on the inventory. It's just my fellow employees, thank you as well, because we need room in the office and we'll soon have it, getting rid of all those monitors and extra parts that are no good. Thank you very much.
Sam, cafeteria. Hi, Sam.
Hi there. So speaking of shortages, tomorrow is our Thanksgiving dinner for the students and staff, and we can't get any cranberry sauce this morning. So we have both the turkey, the potatoes, the gravy, and the vegetables. But I guess things can be worse. Tonight's tasting are some sandwiches I made for you and some chips. This is in cut food, but our paper goods are really limited, so I even want to, I don't want to say waste food cups on tonight, but we need them on the third line. And one last thing, October was a really good month for us. We had really good participation. The reimbursement we received from the state was just under $95,000 for that month. So that was like our highest month yet. So. And November for a month was just.
Sam, I want you to know you had me a little scared when you said the shortage. I'm glad you have.
Yeah, I am.
I can rest easy.
We have our student liaison report from Madeline Dennis. I know, and I didn't introduce you before, so I apologize if it's where you and you didn't introduce. Who's the rest of the board members?
Good evening, everybody. So the first concern that when I actually started talking to our fellow classmates was how AP and college level classes are weighted. A lot of students feel that they are not weighted and they're not actually reflective of how rigorous the course actually is. A lot of seniors felt like, the lack of weighting has been detrimental to their overall GPA and their class rank. And in turn, I found out that a lot of underclassmen are not planning on taking these upper level classes because they have heard from all of us how it's actually been negatively affecting us rather than benefiting us. We realized that it would be better and their grades would be better if they were just to stay in regular high school classes rather than challenging themselves, because they are very academically capable of taking these classes. They realize that the given take is not worth it. The other thing is, seniors especially felt like we were not, the communication has not been there for us. We feel like we have been left in the dark with a lot of things college related. We know the guidance is always very busy, but we feel they made everything sound so relaxed. They had no sense of urgency, like, oh, you need to get this done. They just do it. And that was kind of like, it negatively affected some students because a lot of people they missed some deadlines and they were stressing at the last minute to get trying to get stuff together. So I don't know if they can maybe like make a list at the beginning of the year, kind of give everybody like this is what we need done by this deadline and make it a point to get it done. The other thing is a lot of us feel that common application and audience should really be introduced earlier, maybe in April or May of the junior year rather than in the senior year, because a lot of the stuff on common application, like basically the entire application, can be done towards the end of your junior year. You can really fill out all of your profile information. There is no need to wait until senior year to start doing that, because I personally, that common application is very time consuming. it would have been great if I like had been exposed to that as a junior year, so I just spent the summer filling that out. And actually been worrying about my college essay and a lot more stuff during the beginning of the year, and I know many classmates feel the same way. The final thing, and I understand there is a food shortage, we completely understand that, but we feel the like portion sizing is too small of the lunch meals. That is the main thing. A lot of students feel like it needs to be bigger to keep us full longer throughout the rest of the day.
Yeah, I'm checking it out, okay.
This prevents you from filling out that.
I don't know, I don't think they're. I mean, I think they have to register me for it at the beginning of the year, but a lot of students do, I believe so, I believe that's how it works. But it's also not encouraged for underclassmen, they're like, oh, yeah, the senior year, when it should be encouraged earlier.
Thank you.
Let's not get excited.
No, I'm excited.
Moving the rest of the year.
Ron, she said portion size. Come on.
You know what? Respect.
That was a great report, thanks, Natalie. Okay, so now we have old business, so I'm gonna take this off, and I'm gonna be reading a lot. New business. So we have the approval of the budget calendar, and that was the two changes in the calendar that's printed in front of you. So can I have a motion, please? Alicia, second. Ron, any questions on that calendar? All in favor? Next up, we have approval of the updated Taconic Hills, the financial reserve plan that we just did the workshop on. Can I have a motion, please? Bill, second. Heidi? Any questions on that? All in favor? I know, Jeff, you're new to this, I know. All right, so let's C is a resolution to fund the retirement contribution reserve sub-fund. I'm not reading the whole thing. It's the amount of $225,949. Can I have a motion, please? Motion? Dave, second. Ron, any questions on that?
Yes, I'm just really not sure. I understand what the retirement contribution reserve is, but I'm not sure what the sub-fund.
So the, is it okay if I answer? The TRS reserve sub-fund is a function of the New York State employees retirement reserve. So not until about 3 or 4 years ago was a TRS reserve permissible under New York State law. So once it was permissible, the legislation just kind of folded it under the ERS reserve. So it's considered a sub-fund.
Oh, so we never had TRF before.
That's correct.
And so now the sub-fund is for TRF.
Correct.
Because it's folded underneath an existing.
Correct.
Okay, thank you for clarifying.
Sure.
All in favor? Thank you. Now we have resolution to authorize the fund for liability reserve fund. The amount is $1,162,680. Have a motion, please. Bill, second. Ron, any questions on that? All in favor? Okay, now we have E. Be resolved that superintendent of schools recommends to the Board of Education to appoint Albany Med Emergent Care in West Saaki as an additional medical clinic for employee physicals for the 2021-2022 fiscal year. Can I have a motion, please? Terry, second. Heidi, any questions? All in favor? All right. To amend the approval of Taconic Hills FFA members and students to attend the FFA National Convention in Indianapolis, Indiana, from October 26, 2021 to November 1st, 2021, to include a provision for the Taconic Hills Central School District to reimburse the FFA extracurricular club $675 to cover the chaperone cost of Dr. Sandra Gardner to attend. Motion please. Ron, second. Barry, any questions on that? All good. All right, now we have the authorization of the disposal of the buses that Rick was talking about. Can I have a motion, please? Dave, second. Bill? Question?
They were sold a couple years ago.
Okay.
How much do we get for these kind of buses?
And these go through that, I forget the name of the
I was gonna ask.
Buses internationally, up, I would expect not much more than 3,000 each. They're pretty rough.
All in favor? Thank you. All right, we have, disposal of IT equipment. And that's the list of all the stuff that John was thankful that we were going to pick that up. So can I have a motion, please? Dave, second. Heidi, any questions on that?
Hey, John. Anytime we get rid of stuff, I get nervous. So there's nobody that can use this stuff. It's just totally useless stuff. Just wait and wait.
I'm crying to get rid of the Centios because they're in good shape. But they're such old technology. Nobody's used them in 5 years. So I hang on to things for a long time and make sure that they are dead before I actually get rid of them.
Longer than I hold up.
Yes, go ahead.
I like that, I like that.
All in favor? And we have an authorization of disposal of various library books that you all got attached. Motion, please. Heidi, second. Dave, any questions on that?
I'll pass. I've asked that question. I'll pass.
Yeah. All in favor? All right, the following of the approval of the following donations. So we have Scary Stories of Young Foxes from Christian Trimmer to be donated to the junior senior high school library. We have $246 from Hannaford to Conant Hills Junior Senior High School, $189 from Hannaford to the Conant Hills Elementary School, and $125 from the Columbia County Agricultural Society to the Conant Hills Senior High School Art Department. Can I have a motion, please? Terry, second. Bill, any questions? I want to say thank you for the donations. All in favor? All right, amendment to employee employment rates. So, we look at the, I think it goes on to the next page as well. So we got 1, 2, and 3. We're just starting December 31st. We are increasing the rates for substitutes to entice substitutes here. So, can I have a motion, please? Heidi, second. Terry, any questions?
The other part is to come in line with the statement.
My only question is, where does this put us in comparison to the competing districts?
Slightly better. So unless you have a particular district, that would look up, I mean, some are at 120, some are at 122, some are 125. That's how come we chose 130.
Mhm. And do we have any subs that are like long-term subs that are here for the semester?
Well, they're per diem subs, but if it runs a semester, there's a provision in the contract for that.
And then does it become a different rate or does it?
Yes.
On favor. Thank you. Is there anybody for the second public forum? All right, additional items to discuss. So, we discussed at the workshop, I think, it came up. Because we're not going to the New York State, the NISBA conference has been canceled. We're considering possibly going to the national one. So I looking to see, I mean, we've gotten some, preliminary, had Ashley give us some preliminary numbers. It's in San Diego this year, but I wanted to know how many board members would be, interested in going. I would have to know within a week, because our deadline for the, to reserve everything is coming up, so I would need to know. So I know some of you have already told me tonight that you would not be able to go.
When
It's,
first week of April.
First weekend in April.
and it's for 4 days. I just figured we haven't gone to, we haven't done a couple of conferences, so maybe we could go to the national ones. Just the 2 New York State ones. But if you could let me know, within the week, I'll email you or text you or something to get you. Okay? And that's all I got. And we have, anybody else have any additional items? All right, need a motion to go into executive session for contract negotiations for employment issue for a particular person. Motion, please. Bill, second. Heidi, all in favor. All right, thank you, everyone. You did an awesome job.